One of the things that gives me hope when I look at the church, particularly here in America, is I do think we're in a moment where our tribal lines that we used to draw between denominations and traditions are becoming less important. These walls are becoming more permeable. Now, I'm not going to say these walls have come down. We have work to do. But I think the walls have become more permeable. And I think that's helpful because there's some really great cross-pollination that's happened. And so you can enter a church service today and you could hear someone referencing, maybe a Reformed theologian, while their worship is charismatic songs, while their liturgy might have come from the Anglicans, and I think some of that's healthy. There are many streams of the body of Christ that remain within the boundaries of orthodoxy, that we can learn from, that we can benefit from, that we can be enriched from. So I think this sort of symbiotic influence between streams and traditions of the church is a really healthy thing. I imagine sometimes the visual of a well that you've been used to drinking from. And sometimes people will say, well, that well is no longer doing it for me. And, I spent many years as a worship leader, so oftentimes people will pick on modern worship and they'll say, I've become disillusioned with modern worship. And that's okay. But then there are these other kind of ancient wells of, say, contemplative spiritual practices or set prayers and prayer books. And the important thing to remember is there may be many wells, but there's one water table. It's like what Paul says to the Corinthians. There's one Lord, one Spirit, one baptism. So we might access the life of the Spirit through different modes. But that sort of charitable hospitality toward one another that allows for that symbiotic influence, I think, is really important. And then if we were to zoom one layer down, I think the other thing that would be a hope for me is increased collaboration among churches in a particular community. There are a lot of churches that can do it all, and they'll set up different ministries and departments that can run all the outreaches and all the ministries they need, and that's really great. But I think there are some really wonderful things happening, some work that's being done by third-party ministries that are providing mechanisms, programs, tools, resources, technology even, that can help local churches to say, okay, we'll join that, we'll use that, we'll employ that tool, and then that becomes a way of connecting churches without churches having to reinvent the wheel or create their own departments for everything. So symbiotic influence, maybe layers of missional collaboration that is fueled by third-party organizations and technologies and things like that.